Imagine waking up with no alarm clock, no boss, no resume, and no idea what a job even is, yet somehow still knowing exactly what to do with your day. That was reality for over 300,000 years of human history. For nearly the entire existence of our species, there were no offices, no paychecks, no career ladders, and no Monday mornings dreaded by millions. So how did ancient humans survive, thrive, and even build complex societies without anything resembling employment? The answer is stranger, and honestly more relaxed, than most people assume. Ancient humans didn't need jobs, because survival itself was the job, and it was shared by everyone in the group rather than assigned to one person. There was no concept of working for someone else's profit, no hierarchy of managers and employees, just small bands of people, usually 20 to 50 individuals, relying on cooperation to stay alive. And here's the twist that surprises most people. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer societies, like the Hadza in Tanzania, discovered that these communities often spent far less time working than people in modern office jobs. Some studies suggest hunter-gatherers spent only 3 to 5 hours a day on hunting, gathering, or food-related tasks. That's less than half of what a typical 9 to 5 demands today. The rest of their day wasn't wasted lying around either. It was filled with surprisingly familiar human activities. Mornings often began with the group deciding, almost democratically, who would hunt, who would gather, and who would stay back to care for children or repair tools. Unlike modern jobs, roles weren't fixed for life. A skilled tracker one day might become a toolmaker the next, depending on what the group needed. Gender roles existed, but were far more flexible than old textbooks used to claim, and archaeological evidence, including tools found buried with women, suggests females sometimes hunted too. Once the work for survival was done, the rest of the day belonged to something we rarely associate with prehistoric life: leisure. Storytelling around a fire wasn't just entertainment. It was how history, morals, and survival knowledge passed from one generation to the next, essentially acting as humanity's first classroom. Children learn not through structured schooling, but by mimicking adults, playing games that secretly train hunting skills, balance, and teamwork. In fact, play was so essential that researchers believe it directly shaped human intelligence, creativity, and social bonding. Toolmaking, often imagined as tedious labor, was frequently a communal and even artistic activity, with some tools crafted with symmetry far beyond what was functionally necessary, suggesting early humans took pride in craftsmanship. Free time was also spent socializing extensively, grooming relationships much like primates do, but through conversation, laughter, and gossip instead of physical grooming alone. Gossip, surprisingly, is now believed by anthropologists to have been crucial for group survival, helping regulate trust, reputation, and cooperation within tight-knit communities. Resting was not seen as laziness, but as essential recovery, and evidence suggests ancient humans may have slept in 2 segmented periods, waking briefly at night to talk or tend the fire. Creativity flourished too. Cave paintings dating back over 40,000 years reveal that art, symbolism, and self-expression existed long before written language or formal jobs. Music likely existed as well, with bone flutes discovered from tens of thousands of years ago proving that entertainment wasn't a luxury. It was part of daily life. Unlike modern careers built around specialization, ancient humans were generalists by necessity, mastering multiple survival skills instead of one narrow profession. There was no retirement age either, because contribution was based on ability, not job titles. Elders often became teachers, storytellers, and keepers of critical survival knowledge. This actually gave elderly members high social value, contrasting sharply with how aging is sometimes viewed in fast-paced modern economies. Diet also played a major role in shaping their lifestyle, since gathering fruits, nuts, roots, and vegetables was often more reliable than hunting, making gathering, not hunting, the primary source of food in most groups. This challenges the popular great male hunter myth often shown in movies and documentaries. Archaeological evidence from campsites shows meals were shared communally, reducing competition and reinforcing bonds, almost like an ancient version of teen lunches, except with far more trust and far less office politics. Because survival depended on cooperation, selfish behavior was heavily discouraged, and studies of surviving hunter-gatherer tribes show strong cultural norms against arrogance or hoarding resources. This means one of the earliest human values wasn't ambition. It was humility and sharing. Ironically, some researchers argue this lifestyle created less stress and anxiety than modern work culture, since there were no deadlines, no bosses, and no fear of unemployment. However, life certainly wasn't perfect. Dangers like predators, disease, and unpredictable food sources made survival a constant, serious challenge despite the shorter work hours. The concept of formal jobs didn't emerge until agriculture appeared around 10,000 years ago, creating surplus food, private property, and eventually social hierarchies, taxes, and specialized labor. This agricultural shift is often called humanity's biggest turning point. But many anthropologists argue it also introduced longer working hours, harder physical labor, and new forms of inequality that never existed before. In other words, the invention of farming may have created the very system of jobs we now consider normal, but it also arguably reduced leisure time compared to hunter-gatherer life. This leads to one of the most surprising conclusions in anthropology. Many hunter-gatherers may have actually enjoyed more free time, more community connection, and less chronic stress than a huge percentage of employed people today. So the next time you feel exhausted from endless meetings, tight deadlines, or the pressure of modern careers, remember that for most of human history, survival wasn't a job. It was a shared way of life built on cooperation, creativity, storytelling, and rest. Perhaps the real question isn't what ancient humans did before jobs existed, but whether modern humans have actually made progress or simply traded freedom for convenience.